Alright, guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews coming at you guys with Salvation, Season 1, Episode 8 review. So this one was the second episode of the two that we got for this week. Personally, I thought this one was a lot better. I thought that this one was probably the third best episode of the series so far. Yeah, probably the third best. The other episode 4 and 5 were probably the other top two. Maybe even episode 3 was really good as well. But yeah. So, anyways, I like this one. I felt like again the stuff with Jillian, the stuff with Zoe was kind of irrelevant to me, or at least my opinion. But there was a lot of good stuff in this one. Just some funny parts and all that. So, just last time, I'd like to apologize for this one being late. Yeah. So, anyways, the next one will be up on time, and the fact that was a double episode, and the fact that I was gone is just two things, kind of led to it, and that's why these are late. But anyways, yeah, let's get right into it. Yeah, like I said, pretty good episode. I was happy with the way they handled some things in this one as well. I mean, the last one was kind of iffy. But this one was good. So we find out that Walter Carnahan, the guy that was murdered way back, episode 2 or 3, maybe episode 2 or 3. Yeah, I'm not sure which one. I don't remember, but he was the founder of this resist hacking group with Harris's son Dylan. So it's kind of interesting that he connects back, but I don't really understand that because I mean. He was like maybe 30, 40, and the rest of these kids are kind of like 20 years old and kind of like in their teenage years, right? Or like 18. And why would he be in this group with them? Kind of weird, but it's whatever. He was like an inside man for them, kind of in the Pentagon, so maybe that's why. But yeah, he was murdered, as we already knew, and Dylan just wants answers about Atlas. He's trying to get to the bottom of it, along with the rest of his hacking group there. So yeah, so that kind of opens up. And that's how Liam finds out that Darius and Grace are being hunted down in Moscow, and kind of gets updated with the whole story because the Resist group already knows this. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And then we see Darius and Grace. They get disguises on, and they're getting fake passports from that man at the airport. And they end up the passports are husband and wife. I forget the last name again, but they were like Petrov or something like that. I don't know, but it was kind of an interesting thing. They're kind of funny. So they basically get in line at this train station. Oh yeah, sorry, it was not an airport. It was a train station to leave Moscow. But people kind of start recognizing Darius, and they kind of we see those girls in the background taking pictures of him. So they maybe and he's a pretty famous guy, right, in the U.S. at least, maybe not in Russia. So people are going to recognize him, and so they're kind of taking pictures. And so he says the only way to get out is in. And so Darius, kind of takes off or they both take off the disguise, and then he basically reveals them to the police. And basically comes clean with all of it. So in order to talk to the government and actually, be able to meet with them instead of trying to get blown up with that bomb like the last episode. So yeah, so they get taken in, and that's kind of that. So then we get this thing here and this has been building kind of since last episode, the whole Calhoun and Claire thing. So Calhoun tells Harris that they're not going to rescue Darius and Grace in Russia, and this kind of represents how he feels about them, that he doesn't really trust them at all. And in fact, he even tells Claire, I think it's later in this episode, that he wants to kill them. Basically, both of them he wants dead. So obviously he doesn't trust them. He doesn't want them to be working on this anymore and all that. So that's definitely interesting. And another thing I noticed is Claire's on his side now. So it's kind of a two versus one sort of situation here against Harris, with Claire and Calhoun against him without Darius and Grace there. So he's kind of facing a big problem here, and whether he should join them or stick to what he believes in and stick to his friends. So really tough place to put Harris in, and that's sort of what leads to some of the stuff that he does in this episode. Um, so Darius and Grace are taken to this hotel room, and then all of a sudden, like, what the fuck? Honestly, like, this man, Professor Croft, walks in. How is he alive? Like, I tell you, I predicted this too. The episode he died, I said he is definitely. Well, I didn't say definitely, but I said he's probably still alive. He's probably gonna come back somehow, and he does. I mean, he was shot in the heart. I mean, by Liam. Like, it was definitely a kill shot, and he was, you know, most likely he was dead for a good maybe 5 minutes when Liam was kind of comforting his body at the end. Everyone thought he was dead. He's still alive. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of mad. I'm kind of confused. It's just like a whole lot of emotion right now. But I couldn't believe that he came back like that. Oh, what the, like, that just, I don't know. It was a big deal. But anyways, so Darius obviously attacks him for murdering Laszlo. And he has every right to be. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't have mind to see Darius even kill Croft. But you never know, because he might come back 2 episodes and he might be alive. So, I don't know, man. This is like Glenn in the dumpster, Walking Dead, man. This is like right up that alley. Jeez, but anyway, so so he attacks them, and then we find out that Katya was killed because she threatened to go public with the asteroid news, not because they didn't trust Darius and Grace. So that was interesting that she would like kind of betray Grace like that. And then Croft proposes they can talk to the Minister of Defense about working together. And, he's kind of the boss here of this whole mission with the EM drive. But the Minister of Defense kind of has the final say, obviously. So he kind of offers that. So then we see Jillian. She's planning this wedding for her father. And she invites her grandpa to come. She kind of asks him if she should tell her secret in a roundabout way. Asks him, and he's an author of a famous book or something like that. So, she talks like it's a book she's working on, like a character, but it's really her. It's really she's the character, really, and she's really debating on telling people about this asteroid news and all the stuff that's going on that people don't know about. So again, like, I don't really see where this is necessary. I don't think that we need to see this. I think Jillian coming back at the end wouldn't have been a big surprise for me. I would have been fine if she just came back and then we got like a little bit of a backstory for a couple minutes of her saying stuff. I would have been fine with that. I didn't really need to see all this stuff with her father and her grandpa and everything. But, it is what it is, I guess. Like, I don't know. I'm not happy about that part. And I'm sure a lot of people aren't. I mean, it's just kind of getting repetitive. But I like that. I mean, they introduced the grandpa, and he was actually like a pretty like big character in this one. At least that he wasn't just introduced and then he didn't have a part. So that was good. So then the Minister of Defense for Russia meets with Darius and Grace in that room. He gives them tea. And then basically, we all know that this tea is going to do something to them. Even Darius and Grace know it at the time, but they're kind of forced to drink it. So this kind of puts them in a state, kind of a fugue state in a way. I don't know. That makes them tell the truth. He says it's a muscle relaxant, like mix. So it just makes them really relaxed and, so they won't lie to him and, they're going to be honest with them. So they tell him the truth about working together. I mean, they're not hiding anything here. They truthfully just want to work together and, save the world and kill this asteroid. Or not kill it, but, redirect it. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't blame Russia for not trusting them, especially after this Project Atlas that we find out last episode. But I still think, I don't know. I think that they could still... what else would they really be doing? You know what I mean? But, yeah. So, Minister of Defense, he trusts them now, because, they tell the truth. But he doesn't trust Croft, apparently. And so they take him away. So, now I'm wondering, you bring back Croft, he comes in, he has, maybe 5 minutes screen time in this one. And then the Minister of Defense says, I don't trust you, you haven't done enough for me. And they take him away. So, like, man, why why is he still alive in the series, and then he comes back and he's just gone again because or he's probably going to like a prison or something because the Minister of Defense doesn't trust him, and he thinks that he's doing stuff secretly without telling him and stuff. So what was the point in bringing him back? What was the point in making him still be alive for this show? I mean, it just frustrates me a little bit, guys. And honestly, I don't really get this frustrated with shows, but it was just like, why, right? I don't know. Just frustrating for me. But anyway, so Cross taken away. Minister of Defense tells them he will put it, or he will, go over it with the president of Russia. And I'm pretty sure, isn't it the prime minister? Russia has like a prime minister, not a president. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. I don't know. But I thought it was prime minister. But anyways, say president in this. But it was kind of interesting because Croft does say, "Tell Liam I'm sorry." So that was nice. That he said that before they take him away. And kind of shows that he actually does care about Liam, and that he wasn't just using him and all that. Well, he was, but he actually did care about him, and saying he was basically like his son probably wasn't a lie. That's probably how he actually felt. So yeah, it's pretty kind of sad actually to see that, but obviously Liam wouldn't forgive him, and if I was Liam, I wouldn't either. So yeah. So I wonder if Grace Daenerys will even tell Liam that he said that. I don't know. So then this kind of happened where Zoe invites Dylan over, which is Harris's son. I mean, Dylan is only there really because he thinks he can get answers from her about her mom. So he's kind of using her to get to find out where Grace is and what they're doing in Russia. And I mean, I don't know, like, again, is this really relevant? Do we need to see this? I don't know. I feel like we don't. I mean, yeah, Dylan's trying to get to the bottom of things, I guess, with this hacking group. And this is a way to integrate Zoe into the show a little bit more. But I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of unneeded. I think that Dylan using her is kind of sad because I mean, like, if Harris and Grace were actually getting together now and they're going to be a couple publicly, that these two have to get along, and for him to use his basically, I wouldn't say stepsister because obviously they're not married, but to have a friend basically, to use her already just like this is kind of sad. But I guess kind of shows character he is, that he's just dedicated to like exposing the truth or whatever. I think he says that at one point. So yeah. So then Grace and Darius are still in this fugue state, and they have this romantic moment. Darius plays music, and honestly, I mean, this is probably the best scene of the series. Maybe, I mean, this was great. It was really well done. The music in the background, the way it happened, the acting with Santiago Cabrera and Jennifer Finnegan was amazing. The way they portrayed these characters, and it honestly felt really real. You have a lot of love scenes like this in shows, and it just doesn't feel that real. So yeah, I mean, this is just a great scene, and basically, the music's playing, they start dancing with each other, and of course they're still in this state as well, right? Of this relaxed state. So obviously, maybe this isn't as real as it seems. Maybe obviously they're kind of under the influence a little bit. They don't totally have their minds with them, but obviously, both of them deep down wanted this. Probably Darius more than Grace. That we've seen, in the past couple episodes, that he's been kind of jealous of her and Harris. So, yeah, so it's really, really good. And then Darius kind of kisses her. He says he'll stop if she wants him to. And she says, what if I don't want you to stop? And then it kind of goes from there, and they sleep with each other there on the couch, and yeah, so I mean, it was really well done scene. Like I said, they built up to it really well. They kind of showed the fact that Darius is kind of jealous of this. They built up this love triangle between Harris, Grace, and Darius, and that's just great. That's probably the best part of this episode by far. I really liked it. I really liked the way that they're kind of adding a little bit of romance to what is an end of the world drama, right? To me, it doesn't, like, the stakes aren't that high right now because we still have, I think they said 140 days or something. So we've only gone through about 20 days in 8 episodes. So that's something also to mention. But yeah, so that was great. So then Liam goes to Jillian in Boston during the wedding, which is good. I mean, I really wanted him to just go to Boston already instead of just, texting her and whatever, no reply. If he really wanted to talk to her, just go and see her, right? So he comes, excuse me, to this wedding. Obviously, he doesn't know that it's on, but basically, he asks her to dance after she says she's not going to come back to Tans. And also, I thought this was kind of a parallel to Darius and Grace because that is the scene right before this where they're kind of dancing together, and then we see this where Liam and Jillian are dancing together. So I like the way they did that. I'm not sure if that was on purpose. I feel like it was because why would they have the scenes back to back? Otherwise, I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, I thought that was good. I thought that was really cool how they did that. And it was just a good moment to see them back together. Good for Liam and her. Obviously, obviously doesn't feel probably the same way for Liam right now after he lied to her, but yeah. So he asked her then to go back to Tans, right, to work on this 160 list. And the reason why he does that is because Darius asks him about it, and the beginning of the episode tells him that we need to speed that up and get it going. So yeah, so that's definitely something, and he trusts Jillian, and he wants her back on this thing. So then Minister Toporov, I'm not completely sure how to pronounce it, but that's the Minister of Defense's name for Russia. So he comes back to the room, and Grace and Darius are still laying there together on the couch. This is kind of funny, but so he says the government agreed to their deal, and they can finally leave Russia. They can go back home, and they'll be working together to save the world from this asteroid. So yeah, so that's finally good. I mean, Russia kind of came to their senses here. So that's good. And then when Grace gets home, she kind of finds Zoe, and then Harris is actually hiding behind sort of the not a wall, but kind of out of the camera line there, and he's there, and he arrests her for violating the Logan Act. And obviously, this is more Calhoun that put Harris up to this sort of thing. But also Harris is kind of believing this himself, that, it's the right thing to do and that he needs to kind of get back at her. So obviously this is going a little bit personal for Harris, and we find out later that that it definitely is. So yeah, so he arrests her, takes her in. So then Darius meets Harris in his office after Harris questions Grace in that room. Darius is very mad at Harris. Obviously, he wants him to let Grace go. And Darius, thinks it's a personal thing now with Harris, right? Because Harris obviously doesn't know that Darius and Grace slept together in Russia, but he knows that Grace is kind of rebelling, her duties right now, and hasn't really talked to him much, hasn't showed the same, kind of a romantic sense to him, sort of thing. So he honestly kind of suspects something. So Darius thinks it's personal, and he starts saying all these mean things, starts triggering Harris, and Harris actually takes him and pushes him up against the wall. Kind of a out of control scene there. Harris just kind of loses his mind there, and he says, get out of here before I do something I don't want to, or I don't want to do, or something like that. So yeah, Darius, and then nothing's working, so Darius threatens to go public with everything, about Atlas, about the asteroid, about everything, which would obviously destroy, everything the government's been working for, and obviously Harris's, ass would be on the line for that, for sure. So, if he doesn't let Grace go, he's going to expose this now, and so obviously Harris agrees and lets Grace go, because he really doesn't have any other option. And this is really building that love triangle again, right? Because Darius and Harris are kind of fighting here for Grace. So it's interesting, man. It's good development. I like it. So then, this was kind of interesting, but Harris goes back to that bar that he was at in the beginning, and he actually has sex with the bartender that he met before. I think they knew each other before this episode, obviously, but but they're kind of, getting into this relationship. Maybe even not a relationship. It's more just, like a one night stand sort of thing. But yeah, this he's cheating on Grace because, as of now, he and Grace really haven't broke things off or anything, right? I mean, they still were kissed. They kissed, I think, in episode 7 still as a couple. So obviously he's cheating on her at this point, but we know that she also cheated on him. So he doesn't know that though. So he obviously feels that Darius is kind of stealing Grace from him, or maybe branching Grace away from him, sort of thing. So I don't know. It's interesting, but kind of shows Harris's real feelings right now, and what he's willing to do, because he's faced with a really tough decision right now, with supporting his friends or his work, and what to do with Calhoun telling him what to do. So yeah. Then at the end, Jillian comes back to Tan's. She ends up coming back anyways. So again, why do we have to see the whole wedding part and all that, and the whole thing with her grandpa, if she was just going to come back in the end anyways? I really would have been fine if she came back and this scene happened without all that build-up. I would have been fine with that, but like I said, I mean, whatever. She comes back and she has 2 conditions. The one is to lead the group instead of that Mason guy, which I think is way better anyways. I think that guy has way too much of an attitude, and he's really cocky, and so I think they're going to get a lot more stuff done if she leads it, and she wants to learn what she's really doing with this 160 list. So Liam says that she can lead it now, and he also shows her that the Salvation spaceship, it's called. And yeah, and I mean, just seeing that, it's really amazing to see, it in that underground bunker is kind of crazy. And they have a moment too, Jillian and Liam there, and they kind of hold hands, and Jillian says, "I didn't tell anyone about the secret or whatever." So obviously, that might be building to something, but I don't know. I don't see them getting back together right away. I think it'd be a little bit too rushed, but I think definitely in the future we'll see them together again. So we'll see. So then at the very end of the episode here, the last scene, Darius and Grace, have a talk after she's released back at her house from the Pentagon there, and Darius says, "What happens in Moscow stays in Moscow, only if you want it to," or something like that, to Grace, obviously them getting together. And so obviously she doesn't say anything to Darius, he just leaves, but we can tell obviously that she doesn't want it to stay in Moscow, that she, really likes Darius, and that this relationship's kind of becoming mutual, and maybe, she's branching away from Harris. So really interesting. And then here is the big suspenseful part, where she turns the lights off downstairs, and then she heads up to bed, presumably. And we see a man standing in her house there, watching her. We see the feet there stepping on the floor, and he's watching her. So that is really, really kind of a creepy, very creepy thing there. Kind of remind me of The Walking Dead, when we saw the guy with the boots on in The Walking Dead, and we just saw like the leg and the boot. Kind of remind me of that. But yeah, so it was, that's a really great suspenseful ending, building for some stuff in the future. In way of predictions, I'm thinking it might be Harris, to be honest. I think it might be Harris, or it might be one of like Calhoun's guys watching her, making sure, that she's not up to something with Darius. It might be one of the Resist hacking guys. It might be Dylan Edwards. I don't know. But I have a feeling it's not going to be, just a random guy. I think it's going to be someone connected to the story right now. And we're going to find out who it is, obviously, next episode, or hopefully we will. I don't know. It can't be kept in suspense too long. But yeah, so definitely interesting there, and a good ending to this, to what was a pretty good episode. So for this one, my rating for this episode is going to be a 4 out of 5, an even 4. And yeah, I really like this one. It was definitely better than last week's episode, or not last week. It was the same night. Episode 7. It was better than episode 7 for sure. But not as good as episode 4 and 5. I mean, it's just the stuff with Jillian was just lasted too long for me. The stuff with Zoe and Dylan is kind of interesting, but not really. The fact that Croft was still alive, man, like, man, that just frustrates me to no end. Like how they can bring him back like that, but it's it's whatever. I really like the thing with Grace and Darius. That was great. I mean, they basically stole the show. They did a great job, and that whole scene was really great. Build up, like I said, well done. The music choice for this was also well with the two dances, Jillian and Liam, and then we had Darius and Grace with the two songs. I think the What a Wonderful World the one was. So yeah, that was great. The song choices were good there. So yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I did enjoy it. So my favorite character or characters for this one, I decided to do two. I couldn't decide on one, and really two of them were the best. So Darius Tans and Grace Barrows were my two favorite characters for this one. I mean, Santiago Cabrera and Jennifer Finnegan, great portrayal. And I mean that scene there where they were dancing and one thing led to another. They did great in that scene. I mean, they made it seemed so real, and that was just great. The emotion in that scene and everything, and just the way they work things out with the Russian Minister of Defense. They drink this tea, they they get his trust, and now all this stuff they go through just to save the world from this asteroid, and both are so heroic and so dedicated to doing the right thing. So it was great. It was a great episode for both of them. The actors and the character development as well really brought along. So really great to see that love triangle come next episode. We'll see more of that. Probably see who this guy is that's in Grace's house. And we'll definitely see more of Liam and Jillian. So definitely excited for episode 9 of Salvation. It's actually coming in 2 days from this review since this is late. Don't have to wait a week. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this one. I really appreciate the support on these reviews that I've been getting lately. So that's great. And yeah, so I'll see you guys for Salvation Season 1, Episode 9 on Friday.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.